Okay, guys, good morning and welcome to the Mess Deck podcast. Today we have a fantastic guest all the way from the UK, Royal Marines Commando Sniper, Mr. Barney Barnett.
Latin.
See, guys, we've learned something new on a Monday. Barney, good friend of mine, been trying to get you on for a while, mate, and you've been busy as hell and you've had a lot going on in your life, a lot going on in your life. With that, you got a beautiful son. Well, anyway, let's get on with it. Let you tell your story, Barney. How did it all begin for you, man? Why did you join the Royal Marines there, and what was your childhood like in the UK?
So it's something I think children of my era went through. Working class family, keychain kids we were called. Parents worked full time. Young man growing up, getting in with the wrong people, and it came to a point where I remember some older people were doing some drugs, and it's quite hard drugs, and they slammed a door in my face. And when that door shut, something in my head went off. I was in Army Cadets at the time. I was quite a boisterous young man. Had sort of an alcoholic lesbian mother, so never had that strong male role model in my life. I went to join the army, my local regiment. They said they'd take me in 2 weeks. My dad, who'd been in the Navy for 40 years, he said, just wait, son. And I remember coming home from cadets one evening, and on the front of it was a bootneck, a Marine in the jungle. And I looked at that and never looked back. So I joined the Marines at 16. And yeah, served 18 years before getting medically discharged.
So let me ask you, 16, most of us are little tearaway young men at that age. We got no common sense. And how did you find going down to Limston Commando Training Center at 16? Was that an experience? I mean, it must have been an experience for you.
Oh, it was an adventure in every way, shape, and form. At 16, you don't really know any different. I'd done a lot of stuff in the Army Cadets. I'd always been away shooting. Done like the Duke of Edinburgh Silver and Gold, which was sort of 2 weeks away in the Pyrenees Mountains doing an expedition. So I was used to being away, albeit just a little bit more challenging. And I suppose I wasn't the fittest, but I definitely was robust. Uh, because again, you're growing, and I suppose everybody around you, like I learned further in my career, they're your mentors, and you become streetwise very quickly. And again, you adapt, but your body heals a lot quicker, as I'm sure we're all. I mean, I'm 46 now, so don't heal as quick as what we did then after doing a
That's true.
20k sort of yomp or something, or march. Sorry to you Americans over there.
No. So what was the key things when you went to boot camp, commando training center? I'm trying to get words so everybody, because I have half and half on my account. So like for all you guys at home, in the Royal Marines in England, which is part of the Royal Navy, we only have the Army, the Air Force, and the Navy in the UK. Now the Royal Marines are the sea soldiers. We call ourselves commando element. Now it's when did you join up, Barney? What year were you in?
96.
All right, so
Yeah,
same year as
1996.
me. Yeah. Commando training down there back then, it was probably the hardest infantry course in the world. I still think it is today, but and
Yeah,
it was brutal, mate. 30 weeks. How did you find it? Did you get through in your first time? Did you get injured? What did you find was the hardest thing down there?
the hardest thing was failure. So I'd never really failed at anything in my life. I wasn't an original. So I got back troop for rope climbing. What week was that? Maybe 20, I think it was. And for the guys you built a relationship with over the past 20 weeks, at that point to then go back 2 weeks, 2 weeks just for like maybe half an inch to get to the top of the rope with 30 pounds on your back and a weapon, again, was another thing at an early age I had to deal with. And that was obviously failure. And how you get over that, again, I guess has shaped the way I am today. But yeah, it's never good. Again, at 16, there's not really a lot you can do. As in, it's not like you go and get hard on it with drink or anything else. You just learn to get better. So yeah, unfortunately, I got back troop, so I didn't pass out with my original troop. But then I learned from it, and then yeah, went on in one hit. If I'm honest, because I guess of the age and commando training does work. So if people over there don't understand, your first 15 weeks is all infantry sort of training. Then from there, you go on to the specialized commando training with the abseiling, with the helicopters, with the boats, and a lot of the live firing and more enhanced exercises, which culminates in a 8-10 day final exercise. And then the thing is, from there, very quickly you have to go through your commando tests, which is your 9 mile speed march, your endurance course, your 9 mile speed march, your 1,000 assault, and then ended in the 30 miler. And obviously you have 5 days, I believe, to get through all of those. But yeah, me at that age, thankfully, yeah, it's one of those achievements. You just sort of, your mind's all set up, you're physically fit enough, and yeah, you just get through it.
And would you say that's your was that your best? Was that your biggest achievement at that age? You know, I mean, it was for most people I know, but
Of,
was it
of,
your biggest achievement
of course, to have
in
the honor
life?
of receiving that Green Beret, and then the Marines pass out parade, where all your family come in, it was, I guess you don't really understand your emotions at that age, but
No.
looking back on it, extremely humbled, and I think from there it plays down success because you've hit it at such an early age. You don't tend to realize some of the things what you do, which to other people they look at and go, "Wow." Yeah,
So let me ask you a question. When you passed out, which unit did you join straight
I went to
from
40 Commando, Taunton, Somerset.
and you enjoy down there?
Loved it. Absolutely loved it. Because very quickly I went on a deployment to Jordan. Yeah, Safe Syria, out in Jordan. Having been in the unit like 4 or 5 weeks, went out
Wow.
to went out to Jordan for 6 weeks, floating in the Red Sea, Petra, the old history there, and yeah, it's a fantastic experience.
What
Thinking I'm
year
getting
was that,
paid for
Barney?
this. 97, October 97, that was.
Yeah, we were just 97. We were just coming back from that big remember
Ocean Wave, I think you were. It
exactly,
was it
yeah.
was off the back end of Ocean Wave. Yeah,
And
that.
when we did Brunei. Did you go to
hmm
Brunei ever?
hmm
And go
I
to
went
the
there
old
in, yeah, I went twice. I went in '98 doing a recce troop concentration thing, and then I went back to do my jungle warfare instructors in 2005 or six, I think it was.
I remember going on to the like Alton Towers type thing, the theme park stinking after being in the jungle for like
Oh,
2 weeks.
Jared Park, yeah, Jared
Yeah,
Park in the center of
and
Brunei,
I
yeah.
didn't have no money with me because like everyone's I was bro, I was 17 and I was
We never had any
and
money
and
then, the amount they used to pay us.
and well, I just yeah. And I remember though, all the older guys, the corporals and stuff, because we all smoked cigarettes back then. Like, and I didn't have no cigarettes, I didn't have nothing. And like it was a learning curve because everyone was assholes really. In the jungle, like everyone was like, no, you can have my button. But then when we went to the theme park, I just remember like I wanted a Coca-Cola so bad and had zero money. And yeah, but it was a great experience, man. So you went out to Jordan. What were you doing out there?
Uh, just in a normal fighting unit, so I was in Charlie Company 7 Troop. So yeah, just normal
What was going
reception
on out in
attacks.
Jordan back then? Was it
It
just
was the way to describe it was a lengthy mountain training package with blank firing and live firing. So we did it night attacks blank, then we did it live, then we did it at night. Did loads of abseiling, did 2 weeks sort of final exercise, and then as ever did a load of R&R at the end.
so it's training basically though.
It
It
was
wasn't
training, yeah.
like patrols
No, it
though.
wasn't.
It
It
wasn't
wasn't.
like
No,
yeah.
it wasn't operational. It wasn't getting ready for anything. It was
Uh,
again. It was a nice training package in the sun to finish the year off.
so we're up to like 1998. Then it wouldn't be too much longer before you went to the Navy boxing, right? From 98 onwards.
So '98, I was in. I transferred over to machine gun troop. Did maybe a year of that. Then I got drafted down to Plymouth to the Brigade Intelligence, and that's where I started boxing out in Kosovo. So we actually had a live contest on operations out in Pristina in Kosovo, and then yeah, from there that's where my love of boxing started, and I went through the Marines and then onto the Navy team.
It's always fun though, boxing, man. You get to go off and have a little bit of fun for a while.
Yeah, well, the thing is, Nick, I mean, I didn't learn for a long time the skill was hit and not be hit. Took me an awful lot of fights and my nose to learn with my signature move 1-2 face block. But it's okay. We've advanced from that somewhat now.
But you did well though, man. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you ended up tell people your Navy career. You like you
So
because you ended up being a coach, didn't you?
yeah. So I had to have X amount of fights to get onto the Navy team. So the progression for us is you start on the Royal Marines team, you do the Royal Marine novices, which I won. Then from there, you then do two competitions, the Navy Cup and the Navy Novices. Again, I won both of those. Started to get, by this point, I'd probably on about, I don't know, 10 or 15 fights. Then got it up some more on the local sort of club circuit. And then in 2002, I was requested to join the Navy team. Very quickly, we went to Australia, and we were training at Costa Zoo's gym as he was getting ready to fight Ricky Hatton in January 2003. But again, what a phenomenal experience through the Navy, being paid to go out to Australia for 2 weeks. I mean, probably the hardest fights I've ever had out there. Really, really, really hard bouts. I think I got cracked ribs. Again, just cracked on. But this is one time in my life where I made it one of the best, I feel, one of the best decisions ever, because we came back Christmas 2002. Everything was gearing up for Iraq. And again, I actually RTU'd. I rang my sergeant major and I said, "Sir, are there any places left?" And he said, "Yes, there are for you." So I literally RTU'd myself, so returned myself to unit back to 40 Commando. I was Delta Company at the time, and then went on one of the best experiences of my life with Iraqi Enduring Freedom, as it was for the Americans, and for us it was Telequan, where we obviously invaded into the Al-Faw Peninsula, out in Iraq.
Bro, GD, then you went to machine gun
Yeah,
troop, right?
GD. So I went GD, then I did a stint in Recce Troop, and then came back to Gravenet as such. Oh, sorry, like normal sort of stuff. Then back into
General
Recce.
duties for people who don't understand.
So it was
Grabbing it.
sort of jumping in and out around the boxing. So it was really good. I'd have sort of 6 months doing sport, getting punched in the face, albeit internationally, and then obviously come back, pick my weapon up, and deploy an operation. So some people could say the dream job.
Yeah, really. So let me ask you a question then. Sniper, how long did it take to get on the course? And tell us a little bit about what the Royal Marines course is for
So the Royal
sniper.
Marines Sniping course is the hardest course in the world. It was 6 weeks, and all special forces go and do the course, and that I suppose that is the biggest test to me for the Royal Marines, that all special forces go and do the Royal Marines sniper course, which is 6 weeks, basic field craft, camera concealment, a lot of observation, a lot of quite cheeky qualification shoots, and culminating in final exercises within the badge week.
I remember, like, I think it was in the early 2000s before I went outside. I was at the recruitment. I used to work at the recruitment office with, I don't know if you ever met him. Back then he was a corporal, Tony Hands, PTI.
Yep, yeah, I know who you mean.
Fuck me, one of the toughest guys I've ever met. But that guy, there was some guys with us, and they were doing. I can't remember. All I'm remembering now. This has gone back, but they had these sheets of paper when they had like little silhouettes of like tanks and like just, and they
So
had to memorize all of.
yes, yeah. So a big part of it is learning all the different type of weaponry from and this is Russian types, from Makarov, Takarovs to the Dragunov sniper rifles, the eight different variants, AK-47s, Uzis, all your other sort of Soviet weapons. But also with that, you have to learn all their armored fighting vehicles, all the different tanks, so BTR 60 to 90s, T-72s, which are up to T-90s now. And basically what it used to come off is the old Gen Force sort of doctrine of how the Russians would do an attack, with their vanguard at the rear, their sort of first echelon, second echelon. And because I guess part of the role is intelligence gathering, this is why a lot of people have come through a recce background, and they've already done like it was a recce leaders course, which they then turned into a recce operators course, which is a 6-week course of, again, advanced sort of close target reconnaissance, again, map reading, different types of weapon recognition, as well as armor fighting vehicles, and also planes. You have to learn the different types of planes,
Wow.
because on
How
the
old were you?
battlefield,
How old were you back then? Sorry.
2025.
So you'd been in the
I'd
Corps
had a
about
vast
almost
bit of
10 years.
experience. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I'd been to Kosovo, I'd been to Afghanistan once, been to Brunei, so I'd been to Ghana. So yeah, I'd had quite a bit of experience and exposure.
But what makes it for everybody out there? Because you know, there's going to be people out there in the comments like, "Oh yeah, the army snipers, the Navy SEAL sniper." Like, what makes our sniper course so much better than everyone else's?
It's not so much better, I guess. It's the standards are higher. It's like anything. People always say, "Oh, when I did it, it was harder." Well, look, Royal Marine training, as in the tests, have never changed since 1942. They've never changed, and each course is different. The badge tests, they haven't changed, and they won't change because the standard's there. The moment, like society has a habit of changing and lowering standards because they say millennials and people within society, it's not how it was when we were younger. But the fact of the matter is the actual tests haven't changed. So with that in mind, the quality and caliber of individuals, there is no left and right. You either hit the standards or you don't.
But let me ask you a question on that. With all this, because the UK, like I've been out the UK a while now, but DEI and all that, I know that the standards haven't changed. They never will, even on the all armed. But are they? Whereas in our day, it was more you either go hunter troop or you go outside. Nowadays, are they encouraging people, like giving them a bit more leeway to not? They've
No,
still got to pass it, but like whereas before it was make or break. Do they still get
no, it's still the same.
nowadays?
No,
Still
no,
the
still
same?
the same.
Oh, that's
Still the same.
wonderful because yeah, that's
Still the
great
same, but
because
they won't because look, they're stalwarts of everybody else behind you. So they're not, you know what I mean? You either pass or fail. They don't care. It's not like a company where you need X amount of people to go and hit. It's not. It really isn't. You know what I mean? It's one of those courses where if you don't meet the standards, then you know what I mean. Unfortunately, come back and try again. And you know what I mean?
no,
They don't put a
I'm
block in it.
talking about Royal Marines basic training here, not sniper.
So okay, so they have changed it. And again, this is because of numbers. And again, sorry, not
Yeah,
to contradict what I said. Recruitment, retention are two different things. The recruitment, yeah, like everybody else, the Marines are struggling because people don't want to do it. People don't and actually they've increased the training now, so it's 32 weeks. But
yeah,
what they have done is from what you and I would have known, the PRMC where we went down for 3 days,
3 days. Yeah.
they now do an initial sort of assessment, and then from there they get brought in for 4 weeks. Now within the 4 weeks, they basically work up to doing the 3 day sort of PRMC again with your USMC United States Marines fitness test, pull-ups, press-ups, the bleep test, and you have to get obviously over 6 pull-ups, maximum of 18. Maximum of 60 press ups, maximum of 80 or 90 sit ups, I think it is.
Do they still do the
Again,
rope in there as well? Throw that to see if you can pull up or not.
no, you've got the bar for the pull-ups, and again, it's
Ah,
all done on beeps as a. So
yeah,
yeah, but I'm pre. I mean, let's not forget, Nick. I've been outside 24. I've been outside 12 years now,
yeah. I've been
and
outside
again,
20,
so
mate.
wow, wow.
Yeah. But let me ask you a question then. So going back to we were talking about sniper and stuff. So you graduated. What year did you get out of sniper
It's not
to
graduate. It's
graduate?
a
What?
6 week course.
Well, it's
6 week
make or
course.
break, right?
Yeah,
And you're done.
but
Then
but
you
then
go straight.
operationally, but that's it. Doing the job on operations is, I guess, the pinnacle of what anybody joins the service to do, I guess.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it was like something like out of a movie. 2007, Herrick 7. We had teams all over the AO area of operations in Helmand, from Kajaki to Inkerman, Lashkar. And at sometimes it was like something out of a movie. It was like, grab your team, you're going. Sometimes it was attached to the army with human coming from intelligence sources. There's going to be IED facilitators. Sometimes we went to a place, Nauzad, where that's where Prince Harry was on top of this big hill, what overlooked everything. And it's like a scene out of Vietnam, sort of the cabs, the helicopters were touching down, and like IDFs or indirect fire. There was a very, very, very effective Taliban mortar fire control team. So anytime the helos came in, they were trying to hit them, and we went out and did an operation at night. We concealed ourselves. We obviously didn't tell the RAF. We brought two cabs, two helos in as bait the next day. We pushed a company out. I can't remember who it was at the time. It might have been Delta Company. We pushed them out to sort of do a clearing up. And I remember 5:48 in the morning, one head pops up, second head pops up on top of roofs. Positively identified communications, positively identified long barrel weapons. Guys just did a coordinated shoot, and yeah, eradicated that. Waited for it to get dark and extract. And again, that's the sort of pinnacle, I guess, of what it is, what you do.
Let
Sending
me
these
ask you something
people,
quickly
yeah.
before we go on. Let me just, sorry, I took up. Just for the people at home who've never experienced this. I was watching a documentary the other day, and these guys were saying, snipers, US snipers, I think they were saying like, when you know, just a regular soldier, you fire him and you might take out a bad guy or you might not, but it's hip and ho. But when you're snipering, you're watching him. move, you see in his face, you see in his head and everything. It's more personal. How do you, once you took that shot, how do you feel picking up and moving on? Did you keep that in your mind? Do you carry it with you? How does Barney react when you took that shot?
Euphoria. I guess it's probably I've jumped out of planes, I've jumped out of helicopters, I've dived, I've been punched in the face boxing. I suppose it is the best adrenaline rush you will ever get, personally. Now, you take away you block out the whole thing when you take life, unfortunately. You block out the whole side of thing, it's personal, you remove all emotion because at the end of the day you're doing a job. These people have killed my friends. On one tour I lost 14 friends. I've been blown up several times, and the smell of burning flesh, having to deal with that. So being able to eradicate the enemy, which you know what I mean, in war it's either you or them. But I guess being able to do it in a situation such as that where they don't know you're there, you know what? It is a sense of euphoria. But later on in life, I guess, and again we'll probably come on to that, it does affect you later on in life.
That's what we'll come on to, because that,
Yeah.
that was my point exactly. Like, yeah, it's like a drug, isn't it? Like a drug is a euphoric thing, but then it has consequences afterwards. You start thinking, oh, should I have took that drug? Should I have not took that drug? And that's where. So we're out there in Afghanistan right then. What did you? Were you a sniper when you went out to Iraq as well?
No, I was 2IC of a normal section, so 8 men. But again, that was the first time I took life at 23. An elevated position, maybe 300 meters away. There was 3 Fedayeen. I asked my boss, said, "Boss, you know what I'm going to ask?" He went, "Yep, engage." So yeah, 23 was the first time I ever had to take life.
Whereabouts in Iraq was that? Were you
So
Fallujah?
we basically no, we went into the Al Peninsula. Now the history behind that is at the end of the first Gulf War, where they had the Kurds rise up. Saddam blew these two oil installations, K-Bot and Maybot, on the Al Peninsula. So they were the strategic place which we were tasked at the start of 2003 at Telic 1. So we secured that with the SEALs, and then we cleared the entire Al Peninsula, and we did it relatively unopposed. Now, unbeknown to us at the time, the Americans' sole plan was to do a pincer movement and put all their armor and go straight for Baghdad. They then asked us. They asked Sir Gordon Messenger. They went, "Can you commando? Hey, can you commandos? Can you take Basra?" So yeah, we had all our stuff flown in off the ships. The Iraqis thought because very cleverly we did an amphibious landing in Cyprus. Again, it was put all over the media. The Iraqis thought we were going to come in by boat. We didn't. We came in by helicopter. So we cleared the L4 very quickly, and then yes, we were like, okay, we'll clear into Basra. Now we did an operation, and again it had all James Bond names, and again so we had this technical college. The moment we sort of crossed the LOE, the line of or the start line, should I say, we came into effective enemy fire. And again, there was pockets of Fedayeen, which were the Iraqi sort of Ba'ath Party senior hardened sort of soldiers who were doing the counterinsurgency. So we unfortunately took them out, and then we moved off, and we came into an ambush, which we were in for like 4.5 hours, and it made Black Hawk Down look like something else. It looked like a walk in the park. They were going on the Shat Al Arab waterway behind us. They were moving their mortars. They had vehicles with mortars in the back. Now, I remember um, I remember about 300 meters away, this vehicle came in. It came into my sights. It had 2 Fedayeen in the back with a mortar barrel and 2 in the front. So I dropped what I thought was a driver and the 2 in the back, and there's 3 guys around me, and I'm like, lads, have you just seen that? And the vehicle's obviously driven off. It wasn't until about 2 days later I realised it's left-hand drive over there. So that's how the vehicle's able to continue off. But solid boot neck, like took me two
You
days
thought it
to
was
realize that. Yeah,
Tesla when I was
I was like,
Tesla.
yeah, I was like, how
So basically, you went straight from Iraq into to back over to what was it? You came home and then, or did you? A lot of
we
lads
came,
went straight out.
no, yeah, so we
No,
literally, we did, no,
back to that.
we came back, and then, yeah, probably we had a period of a couple of months, and then, yeah, we started pre-deployment training and we deployed back out to Iraq
And
the
where were
next
you
year.
back then? Were you 4-2
No, I
or
was, I
four
was still
five?
at 40. No, but I was
40,
still at
40.
40, but this time I went into 40 recce troop, reconnaissance troop. Um, but we went to the Maysan province, and we were doing a lot of stuff attached to the Danish. But I didn't do a full tour because I took a team over to Ghana. So I came back and I took a team over. We went to Ghana to again do this big BRF sort of recce troop concentration thing, and ended up getting malaria.
And that's not fun.
No, no, that was not.
No, it's painful as hell. Like, yeah, I had it, dengue fever that I had, but oh
Oh,
yeah, it's miserable. It's like the worst hangover headache, but it comes out your eye. Oh, it's horrible, mate. Horrible.
yeah. No, well, it improved your looks though. So
It's a borderline question on that, mate. I think the hair did that. So you went from Ghana. Wow, how was Ghana, man? Ghana's a crazy country, I'd imagine, compared for a
no,
boot neck
you know
anyway.
what? What was special about Ghana is we go out running every morning, and to have the children run alongside us, they would touch our skin because we're white. They're all very, very, very Christian orientated. And it was so moving for the kids just to touch our skin because we're the white man. It's a very
Yeah,
powerful trip. And we were going into parts of the jungle which people hadn't been in 30, 40 years. So it was proper, you know what I mean? You're moving maybe 100 meters an hour having to cut through everything. But yeah, it was hard, but the jungle is hard, but very
yeah, it is.
rewarding. Very
Yeah.
rewarding.
Well, that's it. Everyone talks about, especially on these podcasts and stuff, about like killing and IEDs and explosions, which are dreadful, terrible. But people forget to talk about the good, positive things, like things like Ghana, where you're running and kids running alongside you. Like there's things in military service that people like. For me, I was blessed. Like going back to me at 17, going out on Ocean Wave because I got to see the world and it was not even operational. Well, it was operational part and part, but it was also a jolly. So it's to show our experience and what a wonderful military we have. And then about 2 years later, the world changed, didn't it?
I think yeah, so for us as Brits, we'd always had the adversity. We'd had Malaya, we'd had Borneo, and I'm on about post the Second World War as such in Korea. We then had the IRA, which
Hmm.
for us was a massive thing we've been dealing with since the end of the sort of 60s, really. So no disrespect to our American brothers, they sort of just got on with it. But here's an interesting fact, right? What happened a week after 9/11? I'll tell you, the IRA decommissioned because of all their funding. They decommissioned, which is a massive, massive, massive thing because they'd never had it on their own soil. And I'm completely respectful. I've met many, many, many inspirational Americans who were there on 9/11 and subsequently the forces I've worked with over my time within military service. And even today, one of I've got my partner's cousin, he's an LT in the Dallas Sheriff's Department. We went out last February. We're going to come back out in September. We did the whole Austin, went to Joe Rogan's comedy club. I love America. I genuinely do. It's one of those places where you've got it so right with your respect for veterans. I've been places I've jumped. I've done wounded warrior jumps at D-Land, Florida, which is apparently where they trained 9/11 to the 9/11 pilots trained, but the respect of every single American. And I remember meeting a guy in, I think, Austin, parking valet, and I gave him a challenge coin. And I, no word of a lie, he found me out that night down Fifth Street and he gave me his USMC challenge coin. That's how powerful the relationship is of brothers in arms.
Yeah.
And again, to this day, I'm in awe. I get to see a lot of Americans through all various different services, whether that's intelligence, whether that's special forces in and around London, various organizations I'm part of. And again, the power of challenge coins. And I hope people listening understand what they are. But me as my company, the first thing I did when I came here and took over was get challenge coins because of the effect they have. And once you explain the story, everybody's different. But for those who don't know, our challenge coins came from the Second World War, where down pilots, where they needed to move through the resistance to get repatriated back to Britain because they didn't carry ID cards. They used to carry their units challenge coins. And obviously, as a sign of respect now, anybody, if you ask them to prove their challenge coin and haven't got it, then they have to get a round of drinks in. But Americans are big for it. We are in like where I work here in Canary Wharf. It's the banking capital of the world. Again, all large corporations, the Barclays, the HSBCs, the JP Morgans, everybody through military presence working within the senior leadership have introduced challenge coins.
Now here in America too, and it's the same thing. If you don't have your coin with you, you buy a round of beers. Yeah, I
So
have a lot of Marine friends, U.S. Marines, because we bond on the same thing, and it's the same thing. I was looking as we were talking this. I had one on my desk. I don't have a coin with me right now to show our audience, but yeah. And also, we
Oh,
forget about it breaks the ice with people, doesn't it? Like it just sets people off. Like, oh, yeah,
it's a conversation starter, but
yeah.
also I present it to some of our workers who've done exceptional. And rather than like 30 quid Amazon voucher, which maybe some would rather, it's how you educate people with it. And we know veterans or people who have worked with us, they understand and appreciate the value of such challenge coin. But yeah, I'll obviously pop one in the post to you on completion of this,
Well, I'm still
and
waiting
then
for
you can.
my honking shorts that you promised me like 9 years ago in COVID,
I
whatever, how
look
long COVID
if
was.
you can't remember, it didn't happen. So maybe
But you,
resend me
I
what
think
I
you
was
were
supposed to.
pissed though, to be honest with you,
No, don't
because
say that.
back then you used to call me up a lot drunk in the night times, and then your missus back then, your ex-wife, which we'll get onto in a little bit, used to be yelling at you in the background. I remember those
That's
days. But
completely true. But look, at least we now do it sober and at
yeah,
decent times.
yeah. I haven't drunk for 2 years, mate. To be honest with you, it was my mental health journey really changed once I stopped drinking. And so let's move along a little bit with you, man. So we've left Afghanistan now. How many tours did you go back and forth
I did
Afghanistan?
three tours of Afghanistan.
And anything in between, like any more African deployments or?
So only with boxing, Italy, Barbados, America, Cyprus,
Because I know
in
Congo
between.
was kicking off for a little bit, wasn't it, back then, early?
DRC was 98, but I went to the airhead on that. We got blue lighted to the airport to South Cerny, but then the airframes, they could only take 100 odd people, and we as machine guns, we got moved off. So yeah,
Too heavy.
well, no, literally, yeah.
Yeah, literally.
So yeah, we got moved off
And
that.
we've got them in the World Cup next, right? DRC or something.
No, we
Isn't that
have.
who we got
Well,
next?
either them or Senegal. I think that
No,
was
I think it is DRC. It is DRC. Yeah, I was
it's
looking this morning.
DRC. Oh,
These
so
African teams are pretty tough, man. They're not talented, but they're tough. Like they're
but
defensive.
that's it because I get it from a nation. They like to get that exposure. It
Yeah,
is. It's like we see in the FA Cup over here with non-league teams. You know
yeah.
what I mean? This is their chance. So yeah, they grab onto it and look, sometimes they do. And look, England, who knows? It's not a given. It really isn't. And it'd be wrong of us to believe it is a given.
No. Well, that was an entitlement that we were raised on believing when we were younger kids, our generation, Gen X people. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of it is just ego to make us feel like we're not weak men. But society's changed, I believe, brother. Like the way we look at life now, like when we was in listen, when I was going outside, I still remember like crying like it was just a no-no and stuff like that. Mental health, it was a no-no. My mental health started, I was on in you were at Nelson for boxing. I remember because I remember
Yep,
you there when I
yep.
was there. And so I was on the basket weaving course, not for alcoholism, just because I had a brain injury, but they thought I was just going crazy. But I had a brain injury. So anyway, I remember being at Nelson, and they had this crazy doctor. He was more crazy than all the guys in there. But there was just so many people we used to have these group sessions, and to this day, just mental health was never looked upon back then.
No, and the sad thing is for us, the reason it came in was an arse covering exercise. Excuse my language, but the whole introduction, okay, the whole the whole introduction of the trimming, so trauma management, it was an arse covering because what that taught you, or the managers of that, was basically to take a guy out, have drinks with him. Well, as we've learned, okay, and a lot of people who have gone through trauma, especially through the military. One drink leads to three, three to four, four to five. Next minute you're pissed. Alcohol's a depressant. Now we say this as people who have suffered and have gone through that whole thing with drinking. But then who's to blame? I joined the military at 16, and the culture, you would be outcast if
Yeah,
you didn't. On a
yeah,
Wednesday, the Marines would have a sports make amends where basically all we did was get in fancy dress, drink
yes,
cider, go make
yes,
fools of ourselves. But if you were not part of that culture, you were ostracized for being different, and you were not part of the circle. So
yeah,
you could be the best guy ever, and if you got in a fight, if you got done for sort of drink driving, if you were a good bloke deemed by your senior management, they would look after you. Now that society now has completely changed within the military, whereas now they're all trying to be a lot more clean cut, uh, and it and you sort of it started to lose the people who are characters. Now that will never change, and we had a saying, a 5-day Marine but a 7-day boot neck, because you may not be that great on camp polishing your boots or having your locker tidy, but on operations, especially with me, it was like Barney breaking time of war. Everybody wanted a Barney with them because I'm fearless, because I have experience going to war, and you know what? Yeah, I may not be the best camp soldier, but by God, put me in the field, at doing what I'm good and what I enjoy doing, then yeah, just away I go.
I think that's what people forget as well, man. That, and I know over here in America it's the same way, that they train you for war, but then when you don't act accordingly on camp or in the town, or when you've had 6 or 7 K-siders and you want to fight the world, they look at you like you're a criminal, or you're behaving badly. Now, I understand that because we have a common law to behave. But what you've got to understand is, well, you understand it. What our viewers need to understand is, when we come home from places messed up like this, we're not the same human as we were before.
And
And society needs to understand that.
so I've got goosebumps talking about this, and I had a conversation when I came back from Iraq, and the first time in 2003, and a very 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 renowned person within the Marines called Russ Craig. He was my sergeant major, who then went on to be
Legend.
core RSM, an absolute legend of man.
Yeah.
He was in the
Four
Falklands
five
when he was
RSM,
8.
right?
Yep, that's it. And
Yep.
I remember explaining to him my emotions. And you know what? He gave me the best bit of advice ever, of knowing how to try and process it. He said, Barney, you've just grown up. And you know what? Of a man who did something similar, went to the Falklands at 17, that helped me. That helped me guide my young men who I'd taken to war. And again, they couldn't process stuff. They'd had to take life. They'd seen friends killed. And again, they didn't know how to process it. And it's just they've grown up. But that's one side of it. The mental health's completely different, because the decompression, what the military give as an arse covering in Cyprus, isn't enough, because these young men go away, they find out they've got nothing in common with, let's say, their civilian friends they had before, down the rugby club, the football clubs,
Yeah.
because of the bond what they've had with through the last 6 months, 7 months, however long these deployments are. They mentally can't process it because they know I've got nothing in common with these guys, and that
Mhm.
they suffer with because they don't know how to understand how to process it. So unfortunately, as I've seen, and my youngins, which I never saw at the time, they did drink, they did drugs. My eyes never opened to drugs until I left the Marines. A pub
Yeah,
I'd
me
been
too.
going in, a pub I'd been going in for the last 18 years. It then came alive and hit me like a steam train of how everybody was on drugs. Yet
Oh, yeah.
nobody had ever offered it to me when I was in service, probably because I would have right hand left hook to them, chop leg sweep, whatever, leaves no marks. But I couldn't believe how I was naive of all those years going into place. And now, obviously, it's rife everywhere. A lot of the youngsters,
Yeah.
cocaine seems a drug of choice. And to me, I'd never seen it, never, ever, ever, ever seen it. And it was like, blew my mind.
I agree with you. Like, I left school in '93, right? And then I went to Brackenhurst, which is an agricultural college up in Nottinghamshire, Southall by the racecourse. And so I left home at 16. So I had a bit of the same thing, mate. When I came out of service and I came back to Nottingham, because I was living in the married quarters all over. All the guys I'd grown up with, there was guys whose parents had flash cars when we were growing up. You know, I grew up in just a working class family. We didn't have nothing flash. We had a Volvo, embarrassing, but we had a Volvo back then. It was like, please drop us off. But long story short, there was people with Porsches. There was people who I used to be jealous of as kid because they had the best clothes. I came out of the military to find out they'd all been on the smack. They'd all been heroin addicts. They left school. Like, and I'm like, wow, that would have probably been me if I hadn't been so motivated. But I was always that kid, mate, that, like you, went through the air cadets, the army cadets. I used to carry that binder around with the Royal Marines logo on the front. The
Yeah.
only reason I came in through the Navy back route was because they wouldn't let me in as a 17-year-old. I was too lanky, skinny, and they didn't give me a chance. And I respect that, because back then they did pick the best of the best.
But I think one thing we learned is it's all about choices and education, and where we came from a working class background, you become streetwise very quickly where you have to fend for yourself. And I had a case of my nephew when he was 15, he was again getting in the wrong crowd. I said, son, I said, I bought you a train ticket. Your mum's got it. You're coming to live with me. So he came to live with me. I took him on. I enrolled him in a military and public services course. He did that for a year whilst applying for the Marines. It was Bicton College. So they've got an affiliation with Limpston anyway, Royal Marines Commando training. And you know what? I changed in life. And although he's not my blood son, he is like my son. And you know what? He never asked me for anything in training, and he knew everybody because I used to take him ashore or I used to take him on nights out from when he was 15 in Taunton. So he knew a
Is
lot
he
of
still in
senior.
the Corps?
No, he had one of the lads driving back from a funeral up at 4-5, crashed his car. It broke both his tib and fibula, and he ended up getting medically discharged because of it. Finished his career. One of the lads drink driving back, literally about 300 meters from Condor.
When was this? What year was this?
That's probably 6 years ago now. So yeah, about 2002. No, yeah, it's about 2000, 2020, 2021. But yeah, it finished his career and he got a small payout. But thankfully, the people I know, he took it to court, and you know what? He got a low six-figure payout, but it ruined his career.
You see, that's
And
something changed as well. When I left the military, I got medically discharged, but it was such a weird way they pushed me out. And because I was sick in the mind by then, I took it. And then they gave me a temporary unsuitability instead of a PTSD, because PTSD wasn't a diagnosis for medical
yeah, it wasn't
discharge
then.
back then.
No, yeah,
So they gave
Roger.
me a
Yeah,
temporary unsuitability, and I just took it on the chin because I was like, I was happy. Because at that point in my life, I was at a place where I was doing self-destructive things. I've been arrested twice in Portsmouth. When I knew you was because you were on boxing camp, and I was working in the gym because look, I'm an open book about this. I was on house arrest for something I don't want to go into on here,
yeah. No, you don't need to, mate. No, it's fine.
but I was on arrest. I was on nines where I was presenting I had to go to the guardhouse at 9
Yeah,
times a day.
yeah.
And yeah, I got into the shit. And then as soon as I went to court, I went to Winchester Crown Court for that, and I got into some serious shit. But within 3 weeks, I was back out on the piss again. And me and a guy I used to know from the Fearless were walking back, and we jumped. Did you remember Portsmouth at all? South Sea.
Very, very well. I was down there
All
not
right.
only 2 weeks ago for a reunion.
So they have like student houses that were level with the streets. And
Yeah,
we heard the music going on, and some young drunk bootleggers coming back. We climbed through the window. Fuck knows why we did it. I'm 50 years of age now, and I still think about this all the time. It's nuts, bro. First of all, we entered a building, basically we broke in. So then
yeah.
we took a bottle of scotch or whatever it was from the booze cabinet. Next thing I remember, I'm asleep on the floor. The guy had choked me out like this. So at that point, I'm angry, drunk, upset, and fight or flight. And they're all circling me. So allegedly, I'm going to say this allegedly now at this point. Allegedly, I grabbed the guy's head and put it through a glass door that was separating the kitchen from the living room. And allegedly, I cut my thumb hanging off. So then I'm going all the way back to Portsmouth sick bay, dragging blood along. And I'm shitting myself now because the judge had already told me I'm on a suspended 6-month sentence.
Yeah.
And then I've just done this and I'm leaving blood trail. So then they sent me to Cosham
I know,
QA.
yeah.
And I'm in there in the corner. Every time a cop walks in, I think, oh shit, they're here for me. And I didn't learn my lesson. So I knew, but that wasn't me. I'd been Jack the Lad for my whole career, but I'd never done anything to this. So I know that brain injury where I died and they flew me to Turkey and all that shit. I knew that had something. But back then, the military, it was black and white. It was a ibuprofen and crack on, or you got sent to somewhere like Nelson, like I did.
Punishment draft, yeah, outside of the unit. But can I ask then, what? Because I know again, you know, I have some very interesting stories of which are mostly all orientated around drink. So we refer to it, as you know, in service in the Marines, you call it the Peter Pan Club. You never club. You never have to grow up. And again, people who've gone through divorces, etc., The military I found was always a get out of clause to be able to make that behavior acceptable. Because at the end of the day, aside from the civil police, military, you know what? Again, if you're a good bloke, actually they would sort of waiver it, and I sort of discovered that on a number of issues. So I was never fearful of whatever the military would do to me. And unfortunately, later in life, my ex-wife with a divorce, my past, she tried bringing against me, although it's all suspended sentences, etc. I got attacked when I was 17 by 5 lads and 37 stitches in my head. I got knocked out the only time I've ever been knocked out. And because I put 3 of them in hospital, I'm the aggressor. And I took the worst advice ever because I wanted to go on tour to Kosovo. The barrister came in and said, look, I've had an indication with the judge. This is at Crown Court in Hull. Said, if you change your plea from not guilty to guilty, we'll get over and done with today. And I was like that to the barrister. But I'm the one who got attacked. Why would I change my plea? He said, well, if you change your plea, you can go on this tour. And me being young and foolish at the time went, oh, okay. I then got done I got done £1,200 in court for a fray, and the 5 lads all got to walk, and I got 100 hours community service or community punishment, whatever you want to call it. So I learned a harsh lesson about barristers, etc., with the law and learning to understand it. But that came at my own detriment. But so sorry, what I was going to ask is, what made you change? What made you go from lone wolf to I'm a father. I've got commitments.
I didn't. I'm not. Listen, my you proved, Barney, because we've known each other over 10 years now.
Yeah.
You know this better than most people. I went through a fucking terrible time. Suicide attempts. I've been through. You've been there a handful of times to help me out over the phone and online. I didn't, bro. It's taken me a year. I'm about 15, 18 months now. I'd say a year of. It's like being a drunk or an alcoholic. When you've had enough of being fucking mentally ill, always hating everyone because they're doing better than you, always thinking that you can never do better, always wishing for tomorrow. There's a day that you say, fuck this. Like, today is actually beautiful if I just enjoy it. And I got to that point where I'm like, bro, I'm Fredders. I've had enough of everybody else. And the problem is, it's me. And it's exactly going, and this may sound really gay and may sound really, but
No,
some
it
people might
doesn't.
understand this. I took myself back to Limston. That mindset that I had of, if I don't pass this, first of all, everyone in the Navy is going to laugh at me because they sent me down there to do this. Second thing is, this is the only thing I've ever wanted. So if I fail it, I'm only like, what else have I got left in life that I think? And I took myself back there to a point in my life where I said, you know what? Fuck it. Fuck everyone around me. I don't need anybody because the real people will come back to me. And that's what I've done. I just took myself away and created Lone Wolf because it's who I am.
It again, that resonates with me in so many ways. It's very powerful what you said of about finding yourself, and sometimes the answer is it is you. You can blame all those around you. It's very easy, and I personally, I've known you this time. I don't ever think you've been that individual. You haven't, and then for me, I did a big article. It's just come up on my memories for the hearing uh, for a big company for noise-induced hearing loss. I've been with them. I'm their longest member for 8 years, and the thing I did for the BBC, it went across 763 media outlets. I should have been one of the happiest people ever, and unfortunately, the day that released, my ex-wife had rang me and said, "Oh, have you checked your inbox? There's something from court, and you've only got tomorrow to do it." And unfortunately, I found it in my junk, and it was she'd filed for divorce. And that night, I nearly took my own life.
All right, let me
And
stop you there a second. Stop you there a second, right? Because I want to know a little bit more about this. Because I know you went into a dark place for a long time, and I used to see some posts on Facebook, and I'm like, nah.
yeah,
So how did this? If you're comfortable telling me this, how did this journey end up with you just getting your wife sending you an email saying check you for a divorce? Because I used to watch you, I used to see you. Well, this is where a lot of people get confused with social media. You seemed happy.
it can be in a
The
minute. Yeah,
in-laws, always at the
yeah,
beach, always,
yeah,
you
always.
were always, you went to
So
live with them after selling your home and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, all of it. So again, when I stepped away from it, I actually came to realize how toxic it was and how manipulated it was, and where I was trying to compensate in the early stages of our marriage, I was not the best husband. I've always been the best dad. I wasn't the best husband. And a lot of that was through drink, unfortunately. It was putting alcohol first before my son's mum, who is the best mum. And I'll never, ever not say that. But when a woman scorned how she came after me, basically, the long and short of it is we sold up, we moved in with her mum and dad for 2 years. That was quite hard. House prices went up, etc. I lost a job. So trying to get enough money to buy the house, it took us 2 years. I then put every single bit of cash I had into the house, renovating it for 6 months. And a long story short, I had to go back to London to sustain it. That just that just that was it for us, really. The moment I went back to London, I was away sort of 4 days a week. We grew apart. Although we identified it, we went and had counselling. At the end of counselling, she got up and said, "I don't love you. I don't want to be with you." And for us, that was like a knife in my heart.
But was it real, or is that her way of just saying, Barney, you're fucking, you're destroying me?
No, no. Look, I love how you put that into context because again, I won't speak badly of her as such. Now there is an element of that. She expected me to crumble, and actually, the biggest form of motivation is rejection. I've gone on. I've got two businesses. I'm managing director of one. Financially, in every way, shape, and form, I've excelled because guess what? You have a word with yourself, and I am now a better version of me. Again, there was a lot of dark moments. And the only person who saw that was my partner and my dad. Of those posts of which we go on about, which was me crying out of. She knew I was the best dad ever, but putting me for nearly 15 months, limited access to my son, the cost, had I not been in the situation I'm in now, I understand why so many dads have taken their own lives because we are guilty till proven innocent, no matter what. The
Yeah,
allegations against me, social, emotional, physical harm, it is disgraceful. And I'll
yeah,
always keep this. And she even said to my son, I left them. And to manipulate an 8-year-old who was 7 at the time and tell him all these things to me is inexcusable. That is more playing. That's not only is that radicalizing him, that's also putting him emotionally where he's torn because he sees his time with me and the weekend just gone was the first weekend I've got him back full time now, as in bi-weekly. I've got him 2 weeks for the summer. And my son said, I don't want to leave, Dad, because he feels safe,
that's
he feels secure.
yeah.
And even after 15 months, he walked back in and nothing's changed. That to me is why I always keep saying that thing, love always wins. So no matter what accusation she threw against us, everything's now sorted out in court, obviously. But again, there's other dads who haven't got 15 grand or whatever that is, $20,000 or whatever. They haven't got that. And unfortunately, they see no other way out than to quit or they take their own lives. And at first, I could never understand that. But my son is my kryptonite. Those 15 months are harder than any operational tour. I've been blown up. I've lost life. I've taken life. That was the hardest thing I've ever had to endure. And believe me, there were some very, very, very dark moments. But
And
what got me
I
through
can
it is
feel
the
you.
love and support. So that's what I go on to. Some people don't have that. Some people fall off the wagon, get on the drink, get on the drugs. Next minute, and this is what saved me is the love and support around me, but also what am I saying for my son? If I take my own life, that then says to my son when he's older, my daddy didn't love me, or if when it's hard, quit and take my own life, and you're running away. Is how I see that. And look, I've had probably like you, I've had probably double figures of service friends who've taken their own lives since coming back from Afghanistan. And that's why I do the press up challenge, etc.
Hmm.
Nobody can ever say, and I used to say, oh, it's selfish. Until anybody's been there, no, you don't get to say that. And you don't.
No, you don't.
Until you've been there, you don't know what it is they're suffering with. People can make assumptions, but until you've been there, you don't get to judge.
You see, mental health is also a weird subject that people don't understand, is because it's a mind illness. People think that there's no physical pain to it, and I would disagree 1,000% on that. Is because I've been through it, and to be honest with you, like you, I've been shot, broken neck, broken back. I've a brain injury. Got stabbed in Yeovil town center when I was in as a young Matlow. But listen, I never had so much pain as when I'm in mental health crisis with a anxiety. It feels like somebody's pulling my tummy all the way through my throat. It's the most painful pain I've ever been in. And myself, because you're one of my best friends of life now, I'm open to say this on camera, right? I shot myself through the hand. I've told maybe a few people a few porcupine stories about this because I was always ashamed of myself saying I got shot overseas, and I didn't. I shot myself in the hand with a 9mm gun because I had a. This is like I'd just gone outside and I was like about 3 years into it, and I got to a point where I wanted to die, but I wasn't scared enough to die. I mean, I wasn't brave enough to do it. So I sat there for 3 days in a locked room drinking Coca-Cola, smoking Marlboro Lights. And I had the gun in my mouth, out my mouth, in my mouth, out my mouth, in my mouth. And then this went on for days, bro. No sleep, nothing. And in the end, I got to the point where I said, fuck it, and just stuck my hand out the window and shot myself through the hand. Blew my hand off. But you know what happened? It broke the cycle. I didn't want to die anymore. Now I was like, fuck, my hand's bleeding. It's funny. But all the way to the hospital, it wasn't about, the PTSD had gone for that moment, that the pain now, the burning sensation, that was where my mind went. And it's sad that we have to go to that. So I understand how people get to a point where they kill themselves because the pain gets to a point where you just had enough.
And that whole thing of that making you alive again through feeling that pain, for me who's known you so long, it's, I wouldn't say sad, it's upsetting to hear someone I know have suffered so much, and we know, and look, the reason why you've invited me on here, and I couldn't think of a better person to do it for. There's a lot of things I haven't spoken openly about, but it's part of the release, especially talking about combat operations. But the adversity, some of the worst adversity I had was when I was at that the UK's largest event centre. And although I was sticking up for all my teams, like I've always done, the hardest thing was they were doing it behind my back. All the senior leadership were doing it behind my back because I called out the senior leadership and I had them bang to rights in their own policies, what they'd written within the company, what they were failing with, to their management. I did a 4-page report on my line manager who was threatened by me because I was more qualified than him. I was more personable. So he then turned on me, but they did it behind my back. And I'd never faced that. Obviously, you can see I'm used to people shooting at me or punching me in the face, which I can take. But when people do it behind your back, and that shaped where I am today with my business here, is we're not like that. Although we're in the banking capital of the world, we are so not corporate. Hence my aggressive salmon t-shirt and shorts today. There's a time and a place to have a shirt and tie, and we're social chameleons dealing with senior stakeholders. But it's that understanding of what has driven us to get here and how we are. My business partner's the same. He's suffered so much adversity from the blue chip side. That's why we work so well. And again, but you're here, and I'm very happy you're here because you know what? You fought the demons. No, you have. You fought the
Yeah, I
demons,
have.
and
I
you live
have.
to tell the tale. And if we can
Yeah.
educate anybody, if this resonates with even one individual, they go, you know what? Wow, we listened to these two guys, a Mongolian and obviously whatever you are, American stroke British. You know
I'm
what? We've been
actually
trying
not
to.
blood American, right? I'm not. I have a little bit of Indian, like, because from the Raj, like I did that DNA test. What's it called? What's it called?
I know what you mean.
Ancestry.com.
Yeah,
Because I was adopted as a kid and I was always curious to know if I had siblings because that was another thing with mental health that was bothering me. Like my mum who raised me, like, I can't ever say there would be a better woman who could raise me. My adopted mum. She's an angel. But I've always wondered if I had siblings, brothers, sisters. How I might, I might have been in service one of them. I might have. No, I'm not going to go down that line. But I might tap someone. But that was always something. But anyway, when I found that out, I had like 15%, I don't know, Indian or something, and the rest was Scottish, Irish, and English. But the reason I'm in America, and I used to say, I listen, I used to be arrogant as fuck over here. I used to be like, no, I'm British. I'm British. I'm not American. But I tell you something. America gave me a home. America didn't care. They gave me status as a veteran because they have a program over here for allied forces, us, the Canadians, and they gave me VA medical care for my service connected injuries. And America's given me something that the UK never did, other than the military. They made me feel welcome. I moved around the UK all the time and I felt like a gypsy. I never felt like I had a place of my own because I didn't feel loved, or welcome. And this isn't a bitch to make me sound like a symphony, but I'm just being honest because this is the mess
Patriot.
that where we talk. Yeah. Anyway, going back to your mental health in your darkest days, Barney. Like, what are the sort of things that you were struggling with heavily? We said
Uh,
we'd talk about that snipering now. So
no,
let's
so that was the
before we
only
close.
time. Yeah, so I have never, ever, 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 ever had any flashbacks from being blown up. Lost a very good friend, left leg missing, trying to revive him for 10 minutes while the Merc came in the helicopter. And that that day alone, I remember who again, one of my very close friends, he came my protege boxer. Again, he went on to, he was a mortarman. He then went on to be a physical training instructor, Navy coach. I remember we were covered in blood, and we were in a patrol base, sort of 50 kilometers in front of the main sort of forces, and I remember just hugging him and crying, and then we obviously stripped ourselves off. We burnt our clothes because covered in blood and got replacement. But things like that, I'd never really gone back to until that evening I said, well, I received that email, because I don't know why. Not in fact, I do know why. I do know why. I'd finally met someone who I did nothing was. She accepted me for who I was, and I spent 2 months with her when I first met her. Didn't have a. I had
You're talking about
10.
your partner now or your
Yep.
ex-wife?
No, no, no. I'm talking about my partner. I didn't have more than £20 in my account. I'd just been made redundant, and she didn't care. She cared about me, and I managed to get back in touch with my emotions, which is probably one of the most powerful things today. I am thankful of, and by being, I guess I'd finally stopped blocking everything out like I've had to do on operations, whether that's eradicating life, whether that's having friends killed and having to carry on. You block it out. You learn. We become very good at blocking that emotion out. And again, we've all had it from partners or family members. You're an emotional retard. Yeah, I was 100%. But I've learned I can still flip that switch today. That's a skill we have to be able to, no matter what is my partner, my current partner, who is Sikh, she's Indian, she's amazing. She was
I'll
just
vouch for that
Patriot.
though. Palin, she just, yeah, the way you look, you've lost weight, you're
Yeah,
back in
she,
shape,
yeah.
you've got that rosy smile again. You're happy, mate. And I haven't seen you happy for a long time, Barney. Like, yeah, even when you were stood there at the what was it, the National NEC or whatever, what's that
All
thing
right,
called
yeah,
in London?
yeah, yeah. National
You
Exhibition
always
Centre.
just
Yeah,
you just look miserable. And I was like, you were there, but you weren't there.
she said
And
that.
like even to put you onto the podcast today, she's been a big factor in pushing you to come on. I know that because she's been supportive of me since day one. She's always liked
Yeah.
and I don't know the woman personally, but I just know that anyone who's a good person behind you is got my vote.
So she is quite moved. She helped me. Not that I was looking for it. She helped me find faith again. I walked in. I used to call it the Temple of Doom, and I mean no disrespect, and I am joking. She asked me if I wanted to go to the temple with her, the Sikh temple, and she prays every day. I promise, every day in the house she gives praise. Their god is Babaji, and she took me to the temple one day, and I walked in there and I got so emotional. It was unbelievable. I read their 10 values. Four of them are like the core values: courage, integrity, etc. We went in and we prayed and we came out, and then I read the Sikh national anthem, and it's got the English translation underneath it, and it's all about coming from a warrior culture. And I just burst into tears. And that woman has shown me again, she's all into her fitness, and she's never cared what my bank account said or anything. All she ever showed me is love and protection. She is fiercely loyal of me. And I guess I never had that. So, and she did, she helped me become a better version of me, which I guess to see. And what you said there, she said, the first time I met you, your eyes were so sad. And she said, like, similar to what you said there, she said, I look at you now, I see you with your son, like this weekend just gone, and she said, you are the best dad ever. And I've, you know what, well, again, we don't take praise very
I'm going to
lightly.
say something quickly there before you start to cry in that.
Yeah.
But everyone's seen on the news about that kid and that and about Sikhs and stuff. I grew up with Sikhs. Like I grew up at Red Hill and some like Red Hill store for the people who know. Listen, Charlie and Amaric and Suki, Sood, not Sood, Dooley, and I grew up like with these people. Sikhs are one of the kindest most helpful, most unjudgmental people, and
Amen.
very good at
Yes.
business too. And
Yep.
people misjudged them. I remember in England when I'd just gone outside and I was in Nottingham one time, and it was after 9/11, and there was two Sikhs waiting for the bus by me, and these ignorant white chavs were calling them fucking Taliban, and I'm like, bro, they're Sikhs, they're Indian, they're not Muslim, you fucking retards. But they're Sikhs to me are a very very nice race of people.
We wouldn't have won the Second World War, and this is fact, right, without the 5 million Sikhs, Hindus, and Muslims. And you know the terrible thing is in London, right? We got fucking statues of horses from the First World War, loads of them, right? Green Park round there. Yet, if it wasn't, there's one fucking statue for 5 million people who gave their lives, Sikhs, Hindus, and Muslims. And if it wasn't for them, we would not have won the Second World War. And again, obviously, with the help of the Americans. And that, to me, for the culture, I love like a lot of my workforce. They're either Pakistani, they're Muslims, or some of them are Sikhs, Hindu. I have such engagement with them because obviously they've seen me with my Sikh partner, with Pavan, and again, it's just we've always been good at where we've travelled within our job, etc., of accepting. And I've always loved being part of different cultures, because
Mm-hmm.
again, it stops. I love learning about their history. I love learning about them, and all I've ever experienced from Sikhs is kindness. I've never come across anything ill toward or anything else, and I think that's such testimony to them. And look, this woman, she got rid of her husband, which is unbeknown in their culture, and she raised her two children. She deserves all my medals. She she did it with very little help. Her ex-husband, has nothing to do with the children, and I've listened to how he talks about them, and it's so
Yeah.
sad. But
I'd
yet
imagine
she's
she
done
got
it on her own.
ostracized too for there being
Massive.
a
Oh,
divorce
believe.
in
Oh,
the Sikh
believe.
community.
Yeah,
Yeah.
believe. Oh, look, a Sikh woman. She left her husband, and you know what? She's that strong. And again, she motivates me. She motivated me to get fit. She motivated me to stop crying and just get on with it. And to have a strong woman like that, wow, I'm extremely lucky, very fortunate.
Yeah. My wife's the same. Maybe she could do with a little bit more empathy. But it's the same thing, man. When you've got a strong woman behind you, it sometimes you just need that kick in the ass to motivate you because it's very misery loves company. And if you're with someone that's miserable and then they're in their own, yeah, you can live a shitty life. But anyway, going on to a positive note, bro, you are a good father. I can. I'm not going to say your son's name online, but I can vouch that I've seen since he was born, and you are a good father. I openly say I'm a great father now with my last two kids, but I struggle with my other six kids because I didn't know how to be a dad back then. And that's the fun part now that I am a dad and I'm a full-time dad and I'm 100% participating in my lives. All my other kids have started to come back to me
They will.
little by little, all over the world. They're turning age now. I've got one son in Barcelona who I've had to sign the Royal Marines waiver for him to go in at 17, God
Oh,
willing,
brilliant.
if he sorts his shit out, because he's not doing too well in Barcelona getting himself into the shit. But I know that he definitely got the mentality that we're looking for in the Royal Marines, that mental strength that he would not back down and leave his buddies in the shit. And
That's it.
that's what we need. We don't need no choir boys. We don't need no, perfect A students, which when we were in, we were crane eaters. But I'll be honest with you, when I see a lot online now, there's some real intelligent guys in the Corps now.
I think it's lovable rogues. If you look back through history, through tier one units, special forces, they all come from lovable rogues. And again, we're all lovable rogues, but
Yeah.
it takes time. It takes time. But the thing is, right, you've learned from your mistakes. If we didn't learn from our mistakes and we didn't change our behaviors, then that's an issue. But we do through
Yeah.
through whatever reason, education, through hurt, through pain, we adapt. And I am living my best life at this age. I genuinely am. I love the chapter of my time within the military, And it was the hardest, most saddest thing when I got medically discharged and I drove away from camp, giving 3 months
yeah,
of my life and order in tears. That was probably one of the
sucks.
most brutal things I've ever had to go through, other than the last 15 months. But again, now I
You
look
think it's going to be
back.
the best thing, don't you? You build yourself up on resettlement. You're thinking, and then the day that you walk out, I don't know, where did you leave from? Livingston?
No, Raleigh. I was down at military training unit
So I left
in
from
Raleigh.
Nelson and I handed my kit in. I kept my Green Beret and my blues jacket is still in my
Yeah.
mom's house.
Oh,
But
bless.
yeah, and yeah, man. And then I got on a plane to Cancun the next day. But it was just the biggest. Yeah, I had to, but that was the only thing I could do. And I never came back to England. But it was like I used to lie there in bed every night thinking this was the worst thing I've ever done. Like go back and join up again. But then I was like, you're on medical discharge, you can't. But
I think that's the thing. What hurt subsequently after leaving, I went and did some resettlement surveillance course. I then went to Dubai, UAE for a bit. I looked at some jobs out there. Again, big swerve. I'm glad I swerved then. But it was that part of not being able to join the reserves, because that cash flow actually at the time when you're deciding, you don't know what you want to do. And again, dare I say, it's taken me 10 years to realize through multifacets until I've settled. But I saw something the other day. What rings true with all of this, with settling as well, was I think it was one of the charities over here, Combat Stress, about is saying it takes people normally 11 years to heal from let's say an Afghan or an Iraq, and actually I think that near enough to the day sort of hit true with finding Pav, my current partner, etc., and actually healing. But and subsequently, because of that, now I sponsor the Royal Marines Association rugby league team, and I also sponsor the Royal Marines rugby league team as well. So I've got union and league.
cool.
And look, I had a run out with my nephew a month ago at the age of
Saw
46.
that. Yeah,
Nearly
saw that.
killed me. But again, it's one of those things, and I'm glad I can support service charities. I'm the Royal Marines Association chairman of the boxing branch. So where I walked away, not by choice, it took me probably 5 years to come back. And now look, I'm glad, because if we can, like the whole point of these podcasts, etc., is again the reach of that education of explaining to people that sometimes people think they're on their own. And then the power of doing things such as this is you know what, podcasts are so vital at the moment. They really are.
Yeah.
And because they're raw people, just you know what I mean. There's no airs and graces here. Uh,
Hmm.
we're not doing this for effect. We're just sharing our experiences
I
of
don't
the
get paid
trauma.
for
What
this.
we've had.
I do
No,
this
that's
because I love what I do. But secondly, if, like we said this earlier on, if I can change one person sitting in their room today saying, you know what, this is the last day of my life, they watch a lone wolf and say, you know what, he's been through it too. So I'm not alone. So let me
that's it.
watch another one. And then by the time they've watched 4 or 5, they're like, you know what, maybe it isn't that bad. But Barney, I've kept you a long time. We're going to have a little bit of fun on the last little bit of this segment, and then I'll let you go. All right. Tell me your 2 funniest dits in service. And then third last thing is, we all had one of these. Who was the hardest man in the Corps that you remember when you were around? That sticks in your mind. Just
Two of the funniest times within service.
funny dit,
There's
maybe on the
some.
piss or something that happened. Or you don't have to
Uh,
have been involved in it, or you just was witness to it.
so there was a thing. So at the time there was online dating, and it might and like it's nowhere near like it is now with over here it's plenty of fishes
Yeah, I
or
wanna. I met my wife
grinder.
on Plenty of Fish.
So you know what, I met Pav on Bumble, where the women get to choose you. So you know what,
Oh, Bumble. I never heard
actually
of it.
yeah, actually, you know what, that's I actually like that. So when I was funny, not my own personal. So there was a guy in our recce troop at the time who went on to get badged, who went to pull in the SBS, and he'd been playing away, let's just say, and he got an STI. So he came back. He knew he had an STI, and he cooked his partner at the time a romantic meal, and he sprinkled some of the stuff to go in it to ensure that obviously that in case he had any STI, it would get rid of it. So that was that one. Whether it's prevalent or not, I don't agree with cheating. By the way, just need to caveat that out there. Never did it myself. So I'm quite clear conscious with that. So in Australia, I remember I said we were training at Costa Zoo's gym. We went down Coogee Bay at the time, and there was a Miss Bondi taking place, and there was a guy, Adam Swainson, Swede. He was known in the Marines, who was a very good boxer, but you know what I mean. When he drank, he just drank. And I remember we were all sort of chatting, and it takes a minute. We looks up, and Swede had got on the sort of catwalk, and he's like going like this. And then I just remember seeing two of the biggest Maoris ever just pick him up and just sort of throw him out. So yeah, that was quite a comical sort of.
All right, I'm going to tell you mine now. My first one was in Singapore. Samba Wang, they had like a sports club with a swimming pool. And there's probably a lot of bootnecks, older bootnecks, that will probably remember this story, but it was me. It was a rainy day, like they had the monsoon. So we'd all been kicked out the pool because it was a possible thunderstorm coming. And we were all pissed up. And there was a shitload of US Marines there too. And this beautiful Singapore chick walked in, high stiletto heels in like a black suit, carrying like a nice briefcase. Me, I was the youngest guy on, one of the youngest guys on ship. So I was trying to like impress the lads. So I just ran over to her. No, they bet me pitchers of beer I wouldn't pick her up and jump in the pool. I ran over, picked her up, jumped in the pool with this woman, and everyone, it was like the Olympics. Everyone was. So I got out the pool, and she come out the pool as well, and then reality soaked in. Like that water must have just woke me up. Oh shit! What have I just done? So then the next thing, like she wasn't a prostitute. She was the manager of the biggest cinema in downtown Singapore. So the MPs came, they took me back to the ship. I'd only been on ship like less than a month. And then I had to pay for all her computer and Motorola brick phone. Because back in those days, they were expensive. So I lost 2 months' money, my first 2 months. And it was on LOA and all that, like overseas money and shit. I was on nines. They put me in the galley, scrubbing dishes for, oh man, it was brutal. That's one. Now, the hardest man in the Corps, I've said his name already. This is just my personal opinion because I got smacked by him and he also put me to sleep jokingly by squeezing my eyeballs in front of Ted Ennis, the old RSM from the SBS, Tony Hands. To me, that guy he's just a fucking animal.
So my guy would be Pete Jordan. Now, Pete, PTI, he was the one who introduced mixed martial arts into the Marines, and yeah, either him or Stevie Ray, Geordie, PTI. Stevie got me boxing, and again, one of the most softest spoken, but if you got on the wrong side of him, wow, you knew it.
Bro, you punched Tony Hands. It was like just hitting fucking metal. Like the guy was just, it was a hook. Like I think if he'd have been in the Corps 20 years later, he was just he played for Exeter, hooker, if I remember. Yeah. He was it's hard.
No, I remember him. I think I've got him on my LinkedIn. I mean, in fact, I'm sure I have. I know I have.
And he doesn't even know this, probably remember, because it's been so long. He's Jordan, my oldest son, the one who, on the 26th, he's actually his godfather.
Oh, wow.
Because we were together for like almost a year and change. He was the one getting me fit to go to Limsden. Like, he used to take me down South Sea running. Like, my fitness program was shit until I met him. I have a lot for that guy. So, Barney, it's been a pleasure, my friend. We'll have to do this again sometime. We'll have to keep up with a podcast for mental health. It doesn't have to be a Marines necessarily, but we'll keep this mental health going, brother.
Definitely. No, definitely. Look, it's been an absolute honor and a privilege to firstly being invited on this, and look, hopefully we could sort of try and tie something in and